A great American hero, a statesman, a man of God has left this life. Justice Anton Scalia. We're going to talk to you a little bit about his life and what it means for the future of this republic should Obama be successful in replacing him. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
For those of you who don't know, Justice Scalia was a devout Christian. Publicly defended the resurrection of Jesus Christ. A few years ago, gave a speech in which he said, quoting Paul, said, "We are of all men are most to be pitied if there is no resurrection." He was a devout Roman Catholic, and he tells the story of his conversion. He was in Switzerland studying during college, and on his way home went through London, went to Hyde Park, and the freedom of speech is very different in England than it is in America. And there's a place where you can stand on a soapbox and preach what you want. And he went by a Catholic priest who was standing on a soapbox preaching the gospel. And this man was being ridiculed and mocked. And it was a key moment in Justice Scalia's conversion to Christianity and to become a Catholic Christian. For those who can't grasp that, it's a show for another day. But he did an interview recently with the New York Magazine. The author of the magazine said to Scalia, "What do you think about the Pope Francis?" Scalia replied, "He's the vicar of Christ. He's the chief. I don't run down the Pope." So she pressed him, saying that Francis gave indications that the church should not focus publicly so much on child killing or on homosexuality. Some of those statements have been backed off of a little bit. But anyway, Scalia said, "I think he's absolutely right. I think the church ought to be more evangelistic." But he, Pope Francis, hasn't backed off the view of the church on those issues. He's just saying, don't spend all our time talking about that stuff. Talk about Jesus Christ and evangelize. I think there's no indication whatever that he's changing doctrinally. The reporter asked him if he believed in heaven and hell. Here's his response. "Oh, of course I do. Don't you believe in heaven and hell?" Later on in the interview, Scalia explained, "I even believe in the devil." And the reporter asked how the devil was at work in the world today. And Scalia said, "What he's doing now is getting people not to believe in him or God. He's much more successful that way." That reminds me of a Keith Green song many years ago. "It's getting so much easier now since no one believes in me anymore." That's the devil speaking in first person. I invite you to do some searches on Justice Scalia's faith and public statements that he made regarding his faith. He is survived by his wife Maureen, 9 children, and one news report I read said 28 grandchildren. One of his sons is a Catholic priest, Father Paul Scalia, in the Washington, D.C. area, Northern Virginia. And Father Paul Scalia was quoted recently as saying that Justice Scalia was very proud that all of his children are conservative, all of them are successful in their own right, and all of them attend weekly Mass, which is attending weekly Mass is a very key sign of devotion. In other words, if a Catholic is truly devout, one of the telltale signs is, do they go to Mass every week? Do they go to Mass every Sunday? And Justice Scalia, has 9 children, God rest his soul. Justice Scalia has 9 children, all of whom attend weekly Mass. Some of the clerks talked about the fact that as Chief Justice, not only did he observe holy days, but he encouraged, almost insisted, that any of his Catholic staff, his interns, also observed holy days. So once a year on Ash Wednesday, Scalia would go to Mass at some point and then return to the Supreme Court with the ashes on his head, priest says, from the dust you came, to the dust you will return. It's a sobering remembrance that we are here but for a short while and that we will return to God. And he encouraged his staff and his interns who were Catholic to go to Ash Wednesday services, as well as other high holy days, days of obligation in the Catholic faith. How much time do we have? We've got about a minute, 2 minutes? We have about, all right. We've got a half a minute left. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break. I want to read to you from the Obergefell decision, a couple of his quotes, and then discuss what is about to happen politically. Please don't go away. America has lost a great hero, and we're in danger. We are in danger right now because of it. I'll tell you why when we come back. Thanks to friends like you, we have state-of-the-art cameras and state-of-the-art teleprompters and state-of-the-art gear here in the studio. We have one big need, however. We have not yet been able to upgrade our computers. The computers that we use for a television broadcast or to create a documentary are not like the kind that you can just go buy at Best Buy. They are expensive because it takes so much horsepower to create TV series and or documentaries. So I'm asking you, if you want to see this show grow and you want to see us finish the What Would Muhammad Do series, help us get these computers. 3 computers that we need right now are going to be just shy of $20,000. That's the kind of horsepower that we need. Go to the GoFundMe page you see right there, watch the pilot for What Would Muhammad Do, and if you like the show, give us a gift. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. Thus says a passage in the Holy Bible. But there are also people who rejoice when the righteous die. Evildoers, the confused, those who don't believe in God, or those who summarily reject God's law yet call themselves Christians. I've been scanning through some of the reactions to Justice Scalia's death, and some of it it's just abhorrent. I'm not going to play it on the air. One of the editors of BuzzFeed, which is a fairly significant news source, put up a little party symbol on her Twitter feed, like that she was rejoicing. Let's throw a party, Scalia's dead. Now, this is supposed to be a legitimate news organization. And here she is rejoicing that Justice Scalia is dead. She's rejoicing because he had the courage to stand for what was right. He had the courage of his convictions. He had the courage to publicly profess his faith in Jesus Christ. And he was mocked for it. And it caused some stress with other members on the Supreme Court. Sometimes, friend, remember this. You know a man by the enemies he keeps. It's not just the friends that we keep that define us. It's the enemies that we keep. And he had the right enemies. A great man of God has fallen. My wife asked me off camera if I would please do a quick civics lesson so that some of our viewers who maybe took a civics class many years ago and need a little brushing up would understand why his death is so critical and why we want the Republicans in the Senate to resist Obama and to refuse to give any confirmation, to vote for any confirmation for any candidate that that President Obama puts up to replace Justice Scalia. The United States Supreme Court has 9 members when the bench is full, all right? And a majority, 5-4, 6-3, but a majority decides a case. So Roe versus Wade, for example, which struck down the laws about child killing or abortion in all 50 states, Roe versus Wade and the companion case, Doe versus Bolton, was decided 7 votes in the majority, 2 votes in the minority. With the stroke of a pen, 7 Supreme Court judges swept away the laws of all 50 states and said that the right to kill a child The right to brutally murder a baby was embedded in our constitutional rights, that it was our right. So one of the functions of the Supreme Court, which is completely out of control right now, is to decide whether or not a statute or a law at the local level, state level, or federal level, if that law is in fact constitutional. So if your local town passed an ordinance that said you could not proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ publicly, they might pass a law and put it on the books, and then it would go, someone would challenge that law and say, wait, the First Amendment says we have the right of freedom to practice our religion and the right to freedom of speech, right to freedom of association. So no, you can't have a law that says you can't preach the gospel. So someone would go to a federal court, and then the court would strike down that law and say, no, this law is not a law based upon our Constitution. The problem is when the Supreme Court decided that it was going to create rights out of thin air that no plain reading of the Constitution could ever bring. So what Justice Scalia did, one of his greatest services, was that he left a series of brilliant dissents. So the majority get to write an opinion, and the Chief Justice either writes the majority opinion himself or picks someone to write the majority opinion. And then the dissenting judges, those who did not go along with the majority, they can write a unified dissent, or two of them can write a dissent, or all four of them can write a dissent if there's 4 dissenting votes. And they can join with each other on their dissent, or they can just say, this is my dissent, no one wants to join with me. Justice Scalia spent an enormous amount of time over the years writing dissents that were not 10 words or 10 sentences, but sometimes multiple pages or even dozens of pages, where he shows the legal history of the United States, the case law of the United States Supreme Court. Case law is a decision that the Supreme Court issues that becomes the foundation for other decisions. So the case Dred Scott, the Dred Scott case back in the late 1850s said that the white slave owners had a constitutional right to own slaves. And so any case coming after that would build on that case. Roe versus Wade is considered case law. And then you had many cases out of Pennsylvania, out of Missouri, the so-called partial birth abortion case. And these cases built upon the foundation of Roe versus Wade. So in his dissents, Justice Scalia would give the legal argument. My wife said he literally gave us the handrails, the rungs on the ladder, for us to climb out of the mess that we're in. So that someday, if there's a righteous majority again on the Supreme Court, they will actually be able to turn to his dissent opinions to show the legal reasoning of why the Supreme Court made an insane, unrighteous, unholy, unjust, unconstitutional decision, such as in the Obergefell case, that supposedly legalized homosexual marriage. Just remember, there are people rejoicing that Scalia is dead. Obama and Hillary slept better that night probably than they have in months. And I'm going to explain why when I come back. And I'm going to explain to you what is at stake. And I'll also read to you 2 passages from the Obergefell case. Please don't go away. Pray for Justice Scalia's family, and may God rest his soul and grant him the joy of eternal life, purchased for us by the blood of Jesus Christ, and shown to be true by the resurrection of Jesus from the dead. Eat your hearts out, young Turks. Christians must be involved in government, period. If Christians weren't involved in government, we would not have a United States of America. And there have been brilliant Christian minds over the centuries, such as John Locke, who is called the philosopher of American liberty. He was quoted by Clarence Thomas in his recent dissent on the homosexual marriage decision. If we don't understand John Locke, we don't understand the founding of America. I want to send you this book and my book, The Sword, subtitled The Blessing of Righteous Government and The Overthrow of Tyrants. I want to send you these two books for a gift of whatever you can afford. Pay the $8 shipping and handling, which does not cover our costs, and then give a gift of whatever size you want, and we'll send you these books. If you cannot afford anything but the $8, can't even afford that, write us a note, and we'll send them to you for free. I want you to have these books so that you can be better equipped to fight in the political arena. Come on, order them today. I need to double back really quickly because we've only got a few minutes left. If you recognize the critical nature of the battle that's about to begin to keep Obama from appointing a justice to fill Scalia's spot on the Supreme Court, I want you to go to our website and I want you to write me if you will lead a press conference and a demonstration, a gathering in front of your U.S. Senator's office in your major city. Most U.S. senators have between 6 and 8 field offices in their state. 33 of the states in this country have at least one Republican senator, at least one. We need to let them know that under no terms should they vote for an Obama appointee. They must not even let it come to a vote. And we need to threaten their political lives. I repeat, threaten their political lives. Say to them, if you vote, if you even allow a vote, we will take you out in the next primary. And all I have to do is say one name for them, for you to understand how afraid they are. You ready? Jeb Bush. Let me give you one more name. Donald Trump. There is such rage in the base of the Republican Party right now that Jeb Bush can't even get out of single digits, and he was supposed to be the nominee. The rank and file of the Republican Party have said, we've had it with you. And that makes people like McConnell afraid. In fact, here's what McConnell said. Listen to this quote. The American people should have a voice in the selection of their next Supreme Court justice. Therefore, this vacancy should not be filled until we have a new president. Again, Civics 101, for those of you who don't know, the Supreme Court justices have a lifetime appointment. The president appoints them, but the Senate, by a majority vote, has to confirm them. So Obama could pick someone, and the Senate could say, we're not even going to take it up for a vote, so they don't get to be on the Supreme Court. Or the president could say, I want this person, and the Senate, that is controlled by the Republicans right now, could vote no. Or the Senate could have a filibuster and say, Ted Cruz has said, I'm going to lead a filibuster. We will not even let you vote on this. So I've called on friends here. I'm calling on friends all over the country. Listen, if you've got a Republican senator in your state, even one, or you've either got one or two, hold a press conference in front of his field office demanding that no vote come up for a nominee to the Supreme Court. I'll read to you either in the next segment or in tomorrow's show some of the dissents from Scalia, but I have to stay on this point. You've got to hear me. If Obama appoints the next Supreme Court justice, and that justice is confirmed, we will have lost the reins of the federal government for at least a generation. I will probably die before the damage could be turned around. All right? Sotomayor, Kagan, these godless justices with their anti-Christ, anti-Christian, anti-law of God rulings, they are, look, they gave us so-called homosexual marriage. Scalia said that it was a pooch. Do you know what a pooch is? I'm going to read you a quote of a pooch, then I'm going to take a quick break. In the decision, Obergefell, Scalia said that the Supreme Court decision was a judicial pooch. Pooch is, quote, a secretly plotted and suddenly executed attempt to overthrow a government. That's what we have just gone through. There has been a coup d'etat, an overthrow of our government, of our form of government. We must not allow Obama to pick the next Supreme Court judge, and we have to threaten the political lives of the Republican senators to say to them, you will not under any circumstances allow some godless pick by Obama to fill the seat held by this great man of God. Are you ready for a fight? Are you ready to fight? If you are, go to our website, contact me by email, and I will explain to you what to do. In fact, I'll explain when we come back in the next segment. I'll give you an Activism 101 in 2 minutes. Don't go away. Friend, this TV show represents a mission. It's to be a voice of resistance to the evil in the land, but also to inspire people like you to take a stand at any level that you might be able to equip you, to inspire you, to challenge you, to give you the rhetorical ammunition that you need. But we still have to pay bills. This program, as you know if you're a regular viewer, we don't spend a lot of time raising money. We don't spend a lot of time saying, oh, you need to buy this and we're going to run it. No, we're bringing you a message, but we still have bills that we need to pay. I'm asking you, if you have been blessed by this show, to please go to our website or send a check to the address you see on the screen or call the phone number that you see on the screen and use your credit card and to give $50 or $100 or $500 just to help us meet our normal expenses. And we'll keep bringing you this hard-hitting show. I have been a leader in the pro-life movement for 30 years. And sadly, we have not prevailed in our goal to make it a criminal act to kill an unborn baby. There's reasons why we have failed. I wrote this book, A Humble Plea, to Catholic bishops, to evangelical clergy, and to lay people, explaining where we went wrong and what we have to do to prevail. We've made this available as a PDF online for free. I encourage you to go and download your own copy. Politicians live and die by press, media coverage. Good press, bad press. They read the front page before they read their constituents' mail. You better believe that. So, if you want to get a message to your senator, send it to him on the front page of your local paper. Are you hearing me? Here's what you do. Sometime this week, Wednesday, Thursday, if not the very beginning of next week, get a group of your friends, 5 of you, 10 of you. Doesn't have to be a lot. Go to the website of your U.S. Republican senator, and it'll have the addresses of all the field offices. Go to 1 or 2 of them that are close to you, and then hold up signs that say, do not confirm Obama pick. All right? Senator so-and-so, you're fired if you agree with Obama. Just create catchy little phrases. Don't have it be a small book on a placard. Just go, and for 39 cents, you can buy a big white placard at your local office supply store and get a big thick marker and write on it, no Obama Supreme Court pick. And then when the cameras show up, because you contact the press, contact the newspaper, your local television stations, your news talk radio if there is one, and say to them, the day before, say on Thursday at noon, we're going to be in front of so-and-so, Senator so-and-so's office, holding up signs demanding that he not allow a vote on an Obama pick for the Supreme Court. They will eat this stuff up, okay? And make sure you get through to the news editor. Don't leave a message with the receptionist. Make sure you get through to the news editor, who will give you an email address where you can send your press release. A press release is just a little note that says, I, Randall Terry, my phone number is blank. A group of us are going to be at Senator so-and-so's office Thursday at noon, and here's the address. We're going to put pressure on him to not confirm an Obama pick to the Supreme Court. And then go and publicly threaten his political life. Say, if Senator so-and-so allows a vote or confirms a candidate, a pick of Obama to the Supreme Court, we will see to it that he has a primary opponent and that he is taken out of office. That's the way the game works, people. I'll be back with this tomorrow to talk more about it. Please fight. Lift up your voice for the sake of justice. you.